Let's bring in former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker. You weren't in the room, Mr. Ambassador, but how do you assess the results of the Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska?
I guess I would assess it as Putin got away without doing anything. He got the red carpet treatment from President Trump. He did not agree to a ceasefire. He did not reduce any of his maximalist demands. He succeeded in changing the subject from being a ceasefire to now being a full agreement and a trilateral meeting with Zelensky. And he left without Trump even applying any additional sanctions or severe measures, such as President Trump said that he would. So I guess you call that Putin 1, Trump 0.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you see the advantages all in Putin's court after what happened.
Yeah, unfortunately. And remember, it was President Trump who was calling for the ceasefire. And he convinced President Zelensky to accept a ceasefire as is back in February and early March. And the Ukrainians have been ready for that for 6 months. The Russians continue to refuse a ceasefire. Now they want a full deal. And remember the details of what we just heard, which I've heard from other sources as well. What Putin is asking for is to continue to occupy all the territory that he currently occupies, and for Ukraine to withdraw from territory that Putin has been unable to conquer. And then that's for some promised ceasefire in the future. That is really not a very serious offer and not a very good deal.
President Trump said there would be sanctions on Russia if they didn't agree to some kind of ceasefire, but they didn't do that. And then he said, well, we're not going to sanction them, at least not yet. Does that become a paper threat?
Yeah, it does. And in the eyes of the Russians, in the eyes of the Ukrainians, and the eyes of many, it really makes President Trump look very weak, that he's unwilling to follow through on his own deadlines, on his own statements as to what the consequences would be, and unable to obtain anything from Vladimir Putin.
So Vladimir Putin invades Ukraine, kills tens of thousands of people, and says that he wants Donetsk and Luhansk, and as you say, wants the Ukrainians to bail out of some of the other areas that they've been trying to defend. That would be a pretty good result for him if the Ukrainians were to agree to it.
That would be gaining territory he's been unable to take militarily by getting President Trump and others to pressure Ukraine just to give it to him for free. And there's no guarantee that Putin would stop there just because he says so. I hate to make the comparisons to the 1930s, but this is very similar to giving Hitler the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia and hoping that's all he takes, and then he takes the whole country.
Right. The fact that Putin got to appear on the red carpet, we're seeing him there, got to appear on the red carpet with the U.S. president to his people, that is a sign of what? Stature, sort of an equivalency,
Stature.
I guess you'd say.
Yes. Russia back on the world stage, respect for Russia, respect for President Putin, acceptability. And of course, the reason he hasn't been able to do anything like this for years is because he is indicted for war crimes by the International Criminal Court. And that indictment is based on abduction of tens of thousands of Ukrainian children, bringing them back to Russia and brainwashing them into thinking that they're actually Russians and that Ukraine is evil. So this is a pretty horrific crime. It usually qualifies as genocide. And that's why he's under indictment by the ICC. And we obviously are not a signatory. We don't have obligations under the ICC. But giving him this kind of warm and red carpet reception is exactly the kind of signal the Russians are looking for to get out from that kind of pariah status.
Meantime, the drone attacks continue. They keep launching drones at civilian targets, the Russians do, and killing. President Trump says he wants the killing to stop, and that's an admirable goal, but the Russians are the ones doing the killing.
That's right. There was a very cynical comment that Putin made just before the meeting. he praised President Trump, faint praise, by saying that he is engaged in energetic and sincere efforts to end the war. Well, that's very condescending because he's putting all the blame on Trump and all the burden on Trump to end the war, when Vladimir Putin could end the war with a snap of his fingers.
He's facing a lot of economic trouble, though, at home, and he's killed close to 1 million members of his own army. The Russians have to be feeling the impact of all this economically, as well as, just from a reproductive standpoint in their country.
No, clearly they are. There's a lot of resistance now to conscription in Russia because it's starting to get to the bone, and they've raided the regions around Russia and all the non-Russian ethnic groups, and now it's starting to bite a little bit. So people are concerned about that. Inflation, we don't get reliable numbers from Russia, but good guesses are at least 20%. Interest rates are higher than that. If anyone wants to borrow money for a car or a house or something, there's a labor shortage, there's goods and parts shortages, and the state budget is increasingly dedicated to the military effort. So it's coming at a cost of other state expenditures, and it is in deficit. They are losing money month by month and digging into their reserves. So the smart thing to do would be to keep piling on the pressure on Russia's economy, play this out longer to squeeze that economy, and put on the secondary sanctions that President Trump has talked about, secondary tariffs as well. Try to dry up the flow of oil and gas revenue into the Kremlin budget. That's the kind of thing that would cause Putin to actually end the war. Right now, Putin is just having fun making increasing demands and seeing what he can get people to give him.
Former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker. Mr. Ambassador, thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.